Have you ever wondered why your desires seem delayed? Why what you want appears to linger somewhere just beyond reach, floating in some distant future? The truth is staggering. There is no future. All that you call the future is simply an illusion produced by the belief that you are not yet the person you wish to be. You imagine separation, so you experience delay. But what if I told you there is a sentence so charged with truth, so rich with divine authority, that when spoken from the inner man, collapses the illusion of time and summons your desire immediately into form? That sentence is not magic, it is law. And the sentence is, it is done. I remember when it wasn't. Say it slowly. Feel the weight of it. It is done. You are not hoping. You are not asking. You are not desiring. You are affirming completion. And then, I remember when it wasn't. You move your mind to the other side of fulfillment. You step into the memory of lack from the vantage point of abundance. That is the secret. That is the doorway. You speak from the end, not toward it. This is the mystical power of revision in reverse. Not to change what was, but to establish what is as already real, already true, already done. You are conditioning consciousness. You are selecting from infinite states of being, and once selected, your assumption must harden into fact. This world is a mirror, and your inner word is the brush that paints your reflection. When you declare, it is done, and follow it with I remember when it wasn't, you collapse the bridge of time and step directly into the promise fulfilled. I am not speaking of belief. I am speaking of knowing. Creation is finished. Every outcome of a version of you already exists. You do not create by effort, you select by assumption. That sentence, spoken with feeling and from within, lifts you out of this seeming sequence of delay and places you in the eternal now, where all things are present. Let the world contradict you, let your senses defy you. But hold to that sentence. Whisper it in your heart, it is done, I remember. When it wasn't. Let it become your new atmosphere. Inhale it. Clothe yourself with it. Make it your dwelling place, and soon, very soon, the outer world must rearrange itself to reflect your inner certainty. Because it is not what you see that makes it real, it is what you accept as true. You believe time is against you, that what you want lies somewhere off in the distance, and if you wait long enough, strive long enough, it will one day arrive. But this is the grand deception. There is no future, there is only now. Time, as it is commonly understood, is not a conveyor belt on which your desires are delivered after sufficient waiting. Time is an illusion created by the senses to explain change. But your true being is not bound by it. You are not a creature of time. You are eternal awareness, and what you call delay is merely the outer reflection of inner disbelief. What you must understand is this. The only reason something appears not to exist in your world is because you are not yet conscious of being the one who possesses it. Time is not separating you from your desire. Consciousness is. And once that barrier is removed, time collapses like mist in the sun. You see, nothing is withheld from you. The moment you dare to assume the state of your desire fulfilled, without resistance, the entire structure of your reality begins to reorganize itself to accommodate that new identity. But people are taught to look forward, to hope, to wait, to chase. They say, someday it will come, maybe next month, maybe next year. And so they push the very thing they seek into a perpetual future that never arrives. They keep creating the experience of not having by believing they are still moving toward it. But you are never moving toward anything. You are always moving within consciousness. And if you do not move to the state of the wish fulfilled in your own inner speech and feeling, then the outer world remains as it was, untouched by your desire, unmoved by your intention. The illusion of time creates the illusion of wait, but you are not meant to wait. You are meant to assume, to enter the state mentally and emotionally as though it were already fact. Do not ask when it will come. Do not seek evidence. Do not test the soil every day to see if the seed has sprouted. When you plant the assumption of fulfillment, you rest in it knowing that its expression must come because it already is. You must stop treating desire like a faraway island and begin treating it like a memory. Imagine how you feel when something wonderful has already happened. There is no yearning in that state. There is only gratitude, satisfaction, and a calm knowing. That is the attitude of someone who understands how consciousness operates. That is the posture of one who walks in the end. The senses are always late. They only confirm what the mind has already accepted as true. And when the mind lives in time, the body will experience delay. But when the mind collapses time, when it declares it is done, the body will follow. Life is a mirror, not a promise. It reflects your present identity, not your future hopes. So if you persist in saying, it is coming, then your reflection will continue to say, it is not here. This is not punishment. It is precision. You are not trying to bend time or speed up events. You are being asked to abandon the idea that time is even relevant to manifestation. Creation is finished. All things already exist. You are simply moving through states, like an actor stepping onto a new scene. You do not beg the stage to change. You change your costume. You shift your tone. You memorize the lines of your new role until you speak them naturally. That is how the illusion of time is shattered, by stepping into the version of yourself who already is what you desire to be. When you see others who seem to manifest quickly, know this: they are not more worthy. They are not lucky. They are simply dwelling in the feeling of having. Their minds are not dividing now from then, or here from there. They have fused with the version of themselves who already possesses the thing. And when you do the same, the world will echo it back. Not in years, not in months, but in divine rhythm, which often feels instant once the inner shift is complete. So the great lie is that time must pass before your desire becomes reality. The truth is far more powerful. Time is your servant, not your master. It will conform to your inner state. And when your state is I have it now, then time bends to accommodate your belief. This is not imagination in the childish sense. This is imagination as the creative power of the universe, yours to wield, not in the future, but here and now. Because here and now is all there ever was. Words carry vibration, but assumptive words carry power. There is a sentence, simple in form yet divine in function, that when spoken from a place of inner conviction, collapses all illusion and delivers the thing desired without hesitation. That sentence is, it is done, I remember, when it wasn't. Let that not be a phrase you merely repeat with your lips, but a mantle you wear in consciousness. These words are not meant to convince the world, they are meant to convince the only creative power that exists, your own awareness. The first part, it is done, is not a declaration of future hope, but a decree of present fact. In that one phrase, you deny appearances, you strip time of its grip, and you rest your identity in the end result. Not because you have seen the change in the outer world, but because you have assumed the change within. You no longer seek, because you have received. You do not ask, it is already yours. You move from the posture of desire to the posture of possession. This sentence is not a tool for mere repetition. It is a spiritual position. When you say, it is done, you anchor yourself in the fulfilled version of self. You speak as one who has crossed the river, not one who stands at the edge, peering over. You take on the voice of completion, and in doing so, you transcend the laws of probability. You speak not to the world, but to your inner being, the one who commands all reflection. That being does not respond to begging or bargaining. It responds to identity. Then comes the second part. I remember when it wasn't. Now you are doing something extraordinary. You are reversing memory. You are standing in the future version of yourself and looking back upon the very state you were once in, lack, confusion, delay as a thing of the past. You reframe your present circumstance, not as something to escape, but something already overcome. You do not wait for the change, you look back at the change. And in that backward glance, you affirm that you are no longer who you once were. This psychological shift is crucial. Most people continue to say, "I hope it comes," or "one day it will be mine." But these phrases reinforce separation. They assume a distance between where they are and where they wish to be. And in doing so, they keep their desire suspended in possibility, never arriving in form. But when you say, "It is done, I remember when it wasn't," you annihilate that distance. You bring the end into the now and make memory serve the new state. It is no longer about waiting. It is about becoming. This sentence is not for those who merely want change. It is for those who are willing to embody the change. You must be bold enough to wear the feeling of fulfillment, even when nothing in your environment confirms it. That is the test. That is the art. Because the world reflects the inner man, and the inner man is shaped by the assumption you carry in the silence of your heart. To say "it is done" and truly mean it is to become deaf to the senses. It is to look at the empty bank account and see abundance. It is to walk through sickness and feel vitality. It is to be surrounded by doubt and radiate certainty. And when you add "I remember when it wasn't," you are not denying your past. You are repositioning it. You are folding it into the story of victory. You turn lack into a chapter, not a condition. You transform the trial into a stepping stone. This sentence is both sword and shield. It cuts through illusion and protects your awareness from returning to doubt. Every time the world tempts you to check, to question, to fear, it is your reminder. Speak it inwardly. Whisper it like a secret. It is done. I remember when it wasn't. And as you repeat it, feel the shift, feel yourself on the other side. See the people who congratulate you, hear the words that are spoken after the breakthrough. Touch the evidence with your mind's hand, for that is the hand that moves reality. There is no waiting for a sign. The sign is your inner conviction. And when that conviction is rooted in the assumption that all is already done, the world will have no choice but to reflect it. It is not a matter of how long, it is a matter of how fully you can accept that what you once longed for is already behind you. The moment you no longer crave it, you stand inside it. The moment you remember when it wasn't, you prove to yourself that now it, and that is how the sentence collapses time. You are not here to fix the past. You are here to reposition it. You do not travel backward in time to alter events. You stand in the present, or better yet, in the assumed future, and look back at the past as something already overcome, already redefined. What many fail to understand is that revision is not limited to undoing what was. It is also the act of claiming that what is now true was always leading here. When you say "it is done, I remember when it wasn't," you are not revising events, you are revising identity. You are not altering history, you are transcending it. There is a sacred art to this. You take the moment you once called failure, emptiness, or longing, and you wrap it in the voice of someone who has already crossed over. You no longer identify with the self who wanted, but with the self who has, and that shift is not a fantasy, it is a change of being. You move not in time, but in state. You become the version of yourself who remembers the previous struggle as part of a larger unfolding, not as an obstacle, but as a path. I remember when I was still waiting. I remember when it hadn't arrived. I remember the ache, the questions, the wondering. That is how one speaks from fulfillment. You do not deny the lack, you simply stop living in it. You place it in the past by becoming someone who has walked through it. You do not need to undo what happened. You only need to reinterpret it from the position of already having received the outcome you once desired. What this does is profound. It frees you from the burden of how you are no longer entangled in the mechanics of manifestation, no longer searching for steps or proof. You speak from finality. You speak from the end. The sentence "it is done, I remember when it wasn't, is not merely a clever affirmation, it is a declaration of consciousness. And consciousness is the only creative power. When you assume a memory of lack while standing in the state of fulfillment, you validate your current identity as one who has already succeeded. This is how reality bends to your assumption. You are not forcing the world to comply, you are telling it who you are now. And who you are now dictates what the world shows you next. Every state contains its own history, its own memories, its own emotional tone. And when you fully enter the state of the wish fulfilled, you inherit its memories, its perspective, and its peace. You begin to recall the feeling of not having as something distant, even if it occurred moments ago. That is the alchemy of the mind. People believe memory is fixed. They believe it is a recording, a document that cannot be rewritten. But memory is not static. It is a function of identity. And as your identity changes, so does your relationship with what once was. What you called failure begins to look like preparation. What you once feared becomes the very pressure that shaped you. You revise not by altering facts, but by changing your vantage point. And from the mountaintop of fulfillment, the valley no longer holds you. Try this. Close your eyes and assume your desire is already yours. Not in the distant future, but now, not almost, but entirely. Then look back at the days when you thought it wasn't possible. Speak from that new self. Say, I remember the old version of me. I remember how she used to worry. I remember how he questioned, how he doubted, how he waited. And feel that person dissolve. Feel how far away they seem, not in time, but in consciousness. You are no longer them. You have moved. In this movement, something miraculous happens. The world begins to mirror your new state, not because the world has changed, but because you have. You are now wearing the lens of someone who has passed through desire into fulfillment. You speak of the past with reverence, not resistance. You no longer resist what was. You reclaim it. You place it in its proper context, a stepping stone to the inevitable. This is what is meant by mystical revision in reverse. You revise not to escape, but to transcend. You do not erase the pain, you sanctify it by becoming someone who grew from it. The moment you say it is done and pair it with I remember when it wasn't, you collapse the illusion that you are still becoming. You affirm that you, and in that affirmation, the world reshapes to accommodate the being you have chosen to be. Speak that sentence not as a ritual, but as a truth. Say it until the feeling takes root. Let it grow in silence, in imagination, in your inner speech. For what you remember as your past will always serve the version of yourself you now occupy. And that version need not wait, need not worry, need not hope. It only needs to remember. You do not bring things into existence by building them. You reveal them by selecting them. You are not here to create from the ground up, as if your desires are not yet formed. You are here to choose from what is already finished. This is not poetry, it is law. Everything you could ever desire already exists as a potential reality, fully formed, fully alive, fully present within the invisible realm of consciousness. Your task is not to strive, not to chase, but to assume. Assumption is the act of claiming a state as your own, even before the senses can verify it. It is an internal agreement that what you want is already yours. And once that agreement is held without contradiction, the outer world conforms, not by effort, but by reflection. The universe is not resisting you, it is echoing you. And what you assume to be true in the stillness of your imagination must project itself into form, just as surely as an image cast upon a mirror must return the likeness of the one who stands before it. To select a state is to become it. You do not simply wish for the thing, you take on the attitude of already having it. You speak from it. You feel from it. You think from it. You stop asking and begin remembering. The version of you who possesses the desire does not wonder if it's coming. They act as if it already came. This is the subtle yet powerful shift between hoping and knowing. Hoping pushes the thing into the future. Knowing places it in the now. When you say it is done, you are choosing a version of yourself where the desire is fulfilled. You are not begging for change. You are inhabiting change. You may ask, but how do I do this if nothing has changed in my world? And the answer is, you are the change. You carry the state with you before it becomes visible. You let the world catch up to your new identity. This is why the outer realm is never the cause, it is always the result. The cause is internal, always internal. Every possibility already exists. There is no such thing as something being out of reach. There is only the state you are currently occupying. If you live in the state of lack, you will see lack. If you dwell in the state of fulfillment, you will see proof of fulfillment. But you cannot dwell in one and expect evidence of the other. You must fully move, not physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You must relocate your awareness to the version of reality where your desire already lives. This is why you must be watchful of your inner conversations. Your mind speaks all day long, even when your lips are silent. If those inner words are filled with doubt, if they are rehearsing what is not yet working, then you are choosing states without realizing it. You are aligning with delay, with effort, with confusion. But the moment you say inwardly, I already am, and you feel the truth of that statement, you shift the track of your life. Do not wait for the evidence to come before you accept the state. That is the way of the world. That is the life of reaction. You are called to live from cause, not effect. You close your eyes, not to escape, but to see. You use your imagination, not to pretend, but to relocate. You impress the new state on your awareness until it becomes more familiar than the old one. And when the new becomes natural, the old must dissolve. There is no power outside of your own consciousness. Nothing out there decides for you. Circumstances do not dictate what you can or cannot have. Your environment, your past, your upbringing, none of these determine your future. The only determinant is the state you now accept as true. You are free to assume any state at any time. You are free to select the version of yourself that aligns with the outcome you desire. And once selected, that state carries its own life. It brings with it new thoughts, new emotions, new experiences. You do not bring those things in manually, they come as a result of your identity. This is the secret behind effortless manifestation. You stop wrestling with reality and begin wearing a new one. You do not argue with the mirror. You change your expression, and the mirror responds. You do not demand from life. You become the person to whom life says yes. That yes is not earned, it is mirrored. You are not waiting on life, life is waiting on your assumption. And when the assumption is firm, when you no longer waver, when you feel the thing already yours, the path unfolds without strain. So the question is never, how do I make it happen? The real question is, what am I assuming right now? Because what you assume, you select. And what you select must be shown to you, not because the world obeys you, but because the world reflects you. Most people speak of their desires as something they are working toward. They live in a state of reaching, striving, waiting. But the one who understands the laws of consciousness knows that all manifestation begins by living from the end, not by moving toward it. The distinction is not linguistic, it is foundational. It separates the dreamer who remains unfulfilled from the awakened one who walks in fulfillment. You do not become what you desire by chasing it, you become it by assuming it now. To live from the end is to act, think, and feel as though what you desire is already a present reality. You are not looking forward to it, you are looking back upon it. You are not hoping for it, you are remembering it. You are not waiting for the door to open, you are walking through a door you've already stepped through in consciousness. And this posture of being is what changes everything. For life does not respond to your words, it responds to your inner state. You may say, but how can I live as if it were done when my senses tell me the opposite? The answer is this: you must choose which world you will believe. the visible world that reflects your past assumptions, or the invisible world that responds to your present belief. The outer world is always echoing what you once assumed. It is never ahead of your consciousness. So if you wish to change what you see, you must change what you accept as true. To live from the end is not to pretend, it is to inhabit a new version of yourself. You begin to carry yourself differently. You speak to yourself differently. You walk into rooms not as the person who is waiting, but as the person who already has. And when you do this sincerely, the world bends quietly to mirror the version of you that you are now being. It must, for the world is nothing but yourself pushed out into form. When you declare, "It is done," you are not commanding the world. You are announcing a shift in identity. You have ceased to be the seeker and have become the one who has found. That single shift dissolves time, resistance, and delay. The one who has does not wonder, when will it come? The one who has simply knows, and this knowing is not arrogant. It is peaceful. It is steady. It rests quietly beneath the surface of all action, and guides each thought like a compass aligned with certainty. If you are constantly watching the world for confirmation, you are not living from the end. You are still hoping, still doubting, still wavering between who you were and who you wish to be. But when you close the gap by being the fulfilled version of yourself, the mirror must reflect it. There is no delay when there is no contradiction in consciousness. Delay is always a symptom of divided belief. The mind reaching forward while the emotions remain in lack. This is why your inner conversations matter so deeply. The story you tell yourself, even in silence, is your state of being. If you are saying within, "One day it will happen," then your reality must echo back, "Not yet." But if your inner voice says, "I already am," then your world must realign to match. You become magnetic not by force, but by identity. The outer is drawn to you because it recognizes you as its source. This is not a life of struggle, it is a life of assumption. You do not need to know how the pieces will move, you only need to know who you are now. And if you are now the one who has received, then everything necessary for that identity will appear. The people, the circumstances, the timing, all of it is contained within the state. You do not summon them individually, they come with the package of your assumption. You can test this truth at any moment. Choose a small desire, something that carries no weight of urgency. Assume it is already yours. Feel it as though it is done. Then go about your day, not as the one who is waiting, but as the one who remembers when it wasn't yet true. You will find often quickly that the world shifts to accommodate the new you. And once you see this happen, even once, you will never again believe that you must earn, beg, or force what you desire. All things respond to the version of yourself you are most loyal to. If you are loyal to the version who lacks, you will see more lack. If you are loyal to the version who has, you will see more having. The shift does not require effort. It requires sincerity. You must become quiet enough within to hear the tone of the fulfilled self, and then move in its rhythm. You are not striving, you are remembering, you are not seeking, you are embodying. This is the path of power, and it is walked silently in the heart long before it is seen by the eyes. Now you know the truth. What you seek is not beyond you, it is within, waiting only for your recognition. Time is not your obstacle, it is your illusion. You were never meant to wait, to wish, to beg, you were meant to assume, to embody, and to remember. That single sentence, "It is done, I remember when it wasn't," is not a ritual, it is a key that opens the door to the state where your desire already exists. You are not here to create reality from dust, but to select it from the infinite possibilities that already are. You do not bring about change by effort, but by identity. And the moment you choose to dwell in the feeling of fulfillment, to live from the end rather than walk endlessly toward it, you collapse time, you bend conditions, and you awaken the creative power that has always been yours. So stop asking, stop hoping, begin being. Rest in the assumption that what you desire is already yours. Let your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, your inner speech, All rise from that single truth, and let your world rearrange itself accordingly. For it must. It always does. It is done, and you remember. When it wasn't now, it simply is.